at the end of this video is that you're going to walk away with a whole new perspective on how to influence human behavior. And if you're in business and you plan on being really successful one day in business, the success in your business is going to have a direct correlation to your ability to influence behavior, whether it's clients paying you, whether it's employees actually showing up and doing the work that you ask them to do. Behavior and influencing behavior is at the core of all entrepreneurial success. And so I want you to stick around to the rest of this video as I'm going to share exactly, a perspective that is going to really, really reshape the way you go about running your business. I guarantee it. It was a massive, massive shift in perspective for me. Now, the idea or the thing that I'm going to share with you that's actually going to influence human behavior is something called reward super response tendency. Now, it's a fancy scientific technical term. And if you stick around, I'm going to actually break it down and in layman's terms, explain what that is. Now, let's take our time though, because in order to understand a concept like this that could potentially contribute to you doubling, tripling your business and maybe contributing to millions of dollars you can make in the future, it's probably worthwhile us actually taking our time to understand it. So whatever it is that you're doing, just relax, sit down and take out a notebook and a pen, or just really pay attention to what I'm about to share with you. Let's go to the beginning and then work our way up. Because in order for you to understand this concept, we need to make sure the foundations of your belief, the foundation of your understanding is solid. So we want to influence human behavior. Well, the question firstly is why? Why do we want to influence human behavior? Is it inherently wrong to do so? Like if there was a way that you could influence someone's behavior, doesn't it? There's probably a part of you that feels potentially malicious or evil, right? But if you have good ethics and you plan on influencing behavior in a positive way for someone to take an action that's good for them, then why wouldn't you want to influence their behavior is a better question. Now, if you run a business and you sell a service or a product that you truly believe in, then you should be trying to do everything you can to influence someone's behavior, whether it's rationally, irrationally, through the conscious mind, the subconscious mind. If you can manipulate them to take an action that is good for them, you'd probably do it, right? Because the net outcome of that action will be really good for them. So that's the first thing to get out of the way is the ethics and the morals behind this. So long as you're someone who's going to use this for good, then you should be trying to do everything in your power to actually influence someone's behavior. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we have to ask ourselves, well, what is behavior and what influences behavior? Okay, so behavior to me and how I understand it is someone taking an action. That's what behavior is, right? If I get angry and I lash out, I've taken action. It's like if I thought I was angry, but I reacted calm, I have got good behavior. I've got calm behavior, even though in my mind I may have been upset. So behavior only manifests when someone takes action. Cool. Behavior, action. So now what influences action? Where does action start? Well, we know we can't do anything unless it starts at our mind. Our mind is what makes our body take an action, whether it's continuing to watch a video, whether it is me picking up my water bottle and drinking, getting out of bed. It all starts in the mind. Okay, so if we want to influence action, we have to understand the mind. So then now let's go a step further than that. So what influences the mind, or how does the mind go about making decisions to get the human we're trying to influence to take action? Well, the mind is a really efficient computer system. Think about it like that, right? It's made up of algorithms and it has to be really efficient because the brain consumes a lot of calories and a lot of energy. I believe it's like 2% of our total body mass, but it consumes 20% or 25% of all the energy from our body. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I've got the numbers wrong, but I know for sure that the brain, compared to how small it is in terms of body mass, consumes a lot of energy. And that is actually why chess players, I was surprised to find this out, but chess players burn so much calories. And I thought you could only burn calories through physical movement, but now that I understand how the brain works to an extent, although I know I'm so limited in knowledge, I know I understand it enough to know now why chess players burn so much calories is because the brain, when you're thinking a lot or you're using your brain, it just burns so much calories. It's consuming so much energy, right? And, think about it in your own life. Like, I don't know if you've ever sat down trying to solve a complicated problem, or you looked at data and you're trying to see, you're having to use your brain a lot. You just feel exhausted afterwards. You feel so tired. And, I realized that way back in the day, like the true activities does not consume the same amount of energy. And so the brain itself consumes a lot of energy. Now, because it consumes a lot of energy, the brain's core intent, what is it? What does the brain want us to do? What does our mind want us to do? What is it programmed for? It's programmed for survival, right? So it will, over time, it would have evolved knowing that it consumes a lot of energy, and it's tried to do everything it can to reduce the amount of energy it would consume. So, in other words, become really efficient. Now, for it to become really efficient, it needs to have created some sort of algorithm so that we're not having to think about every single decision that we need to make, right? Think about it like when you think of a customers, right? Not making a decision, using things like, I need to think about it, I need some time, I need to sleep on it. Well, they don't really need to think about it. They don't need to sleep on it. Realistically, after the call, after your meeting with them, they'll probably, sleep on it. They will maybe give it 2 minutes of thought. They'll probably get someone else to make the decision for them, because having to process information, really think about whether this is the right decision for them or not, takes so much energy, and the brain is like fighting against the person to make that decision. Like the brain's like trying to avoid anything that involves consuming a lot of energy. And that is why you probably procrastinate, right? Like if you have a task that you need to do, like you're supposed to write ad copy, the brain knows ad copy is going to take a lot of energy. And so it just goes, go on Instagram. That's easier. And in fact, Instagram is going to create dopamine, and it's a much easier task to do. Or go and send emails because it requires less energy. Anyways, I don't want to go on a tangent on down that path, but the brain's objective is to survive. And so therefore, its objective is going to be to become as efficient as possible. And it does so by creating algorithms. Now, these algorithms, there's the way the algorithm is now made up of, or what it's made up of, is something called heuristics, and cognitive biases, right? I believe that it's the same thing. I'm not sure, but I always see that heuristics and cognitive biases almost use interchangeably, but I'll probably do more research on this. Regardless, right? Again, I'm not always going to be 100% accurate, but the main points will eventually get delivered to you. If you look up Charlie Munger cognitive biases, he's talked about this at length. And what he's essentially said is that there are, I don't know, 100 or tens of different, cognitive biases that exist out there, and they pretty much exist in almost every person. And the brain is leaning on these cognitive biases to make automatic and irrational decisions. And so the majority of the time, the way people behave is not actually in their control. Almost 95%, say, of their behavior is just done automatically. Now, if you want to see how this relates to your own life, think about the last time you got a cold call and you heard someone with a foreign accent. You immediately probably hanged up, or did not give that person time of day, or thought it was a scam, and that is an automatic response. That could have been a genuine person trying to sell you something of value, right? But your brain just went, no, scam, whatever, because it's trying to conserve energy, right? You see your pizza comes out in front of you and you're trying to watch your diet, and you're like, I'll just have one slice. And then you almost just forget, like 5 slices later, you're just sitting there being like, how did that happen? How did that happen? Like, it's like 1 second I was reaching for the pizza, I took a bite, and then like I just completely zoned out. And now I've got five pizzas, 5 slices down. I know that happens to me. Or even, when snacks would be put in front of me at, like, you go to over to a guest house, it's like just an automatic response to eat. And that probably came from when I was a child, because, that's when we would get, we go over to a guest house and you just can't wait until they put the desserts out. And it's probably just stacked like dessert, good, feel good, So anyways, um, just understand that majority of what influences human behavior is in the subconscious mind. So if we want to influence someone's behavior, we need to understand cognitive biases, and we need to understand how to create, how to work around them. So we're influencing this person's behavior not through their conscious mind, but through their subconscious mind. And this is where things become really, really, really intense. This is where you can become really powerful. So if I want to influence someone's behavior, the cognitive bias that influences, or talks about, or exists within someone's brain, that most relates to influencing someone's behavior, is called the reward super response tendency. And in layman's terms, that word is incentive. Incentive. Now, I know you know that word, incentives, right? And we know this, and it's a common word, but common words and knowing what a word is doesn't mean you're actually applying it into your business. If everything that you do, from you running an ad to someone booking a call and you wanting them to show up, or to them actually showing up on the call and you wanting them to take the action of actually going ahead with you, to you working with a client and wanting them to refer you to other people inside your niche, like people they know, whether it's with your employees actually showing up to work, um, uh, actually doing the actions you want them to do, whether it's educating themselves, getting better, going above and beyond, helping your customers in any way, shape, or form, depending on their role. If every step of the way you ask yourself, what is the incentive that this person has to actually do this? And you can create incentives around that, you will then influence their behavior without even having to say anything. Okay, so I used to think that being a leader, and I'm now going to share with you guys a personal example, and you can see how you can relate this in your own life. I used to think that as a leader, the way I get my employees, my staff members, my team members to carry out the behavior I want them to carry out is by constantly reminding them, trying to rile them up, motivate them, staying on top of them, checking if they're doing their work, and just constantly talking at them. Now, that was me pre-understanding this idea, because I did not even understand the idea of the subconscious. I was just focusing on the conscious, like speak to an employee, hey mate, I need you to, do this, do this, do this with your call, make some more dials. Like if I'm talking to my sales staff, right? Let's say I've got my team of appointment setters. The most recent example is with my team of appointment setters, they were booking appointments for our clients. And I gave them I wasn't thinking about this idea of incentives. I just thought, oh, I'll give them a little bit of I'll motivate them a little bit. I said, guys, if you book X amount of appointments this week, I'll give you a bonus of this, right? And they were like, awesome, sounds good. They loved it, and they went to work. So I was like, yes, right, that was good. I incentivize them, and then that's now influenced their behavior. And in that week, I didn't have to have many meetings. They did more calls than they usually did. They were pumped, they were amped, and I was like, okay, that's awesome, right? I've understood that incentive does influence behavior, and no matter what you think about it, like whether it's like, oh, I shouldn't have to give them this incentive. They should just actually do their job. If you think that way, you're never going to actually influence human behavior, right? It exists, and it exists in every way, shape, or form, in every business partnership, in every relationship, in every every dynamic where action, there's certain behavior, there's always incentive that's involved in that, right? There's probably a friend who you used to do so much for, and show up for and call them, and then after a while, you're just like, man, I'm not getting that same amount back. I don't have the incentive anymore of really pouring all this time and energy into them. I'm drained. I'm not getting there. There's just nothing that's incentivizing me to maintain this relationship. And then you maybe distance yourself, or you end up finding new friends. So that can happen in a relationship. It can happen in a business partnership too. Like, why would two people want to be business partners? Well, because there's an incentive. There's an incentive that's holding them together, that's influencing their behavior, right? But now, if the incentive no longer exists, it's going to then start to have that relationship fall apart. So understanding this idea of incentives is going to then transform everything you do. So you ask yourself, what's the incentive for someone to actually show up to my call? What's the incentive that I give this person to actually want to watch more than 15 seconds of my ad? What's the incentive that I can give my builders, or sorry, my clients, to actually want to refer me, right? I'm in the renovations and building niche, so I think builders, but your clients. So incentive should be driving everything. Anytime there is an action you want someone to take, just simply ask the question, what is the incentive? What is the incentive? Okay. At the beginning of this call, sorry, at the beginning of this video, I said, if you stick around to the end, I said the word reward super response tendency, which I knew was going to get you curious. And then I said, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to have you walk away with like being a superhuman, et cetera, et cetera. That's the incentive. I've given you an incentive to stick around to the end because there's something that I'm going to give you that's then going to make you go on and make more money or grow your business. You've got an incentive to watch me right now, right? You're not watching me because you love me. Maybe if it's my mom watching, hi mom, I know you watch all my videos and you do so because you love me. But outside my mom, my dad, my siblings, everyone else, is probably just watching because they want to get something out of me. And that's totally fair enough. And I'm more than happy to give that to you. You have an incentive to continuously watch this video and watch all my other videos. So incentive drives human behavior. Everything you do, every time you want someone to take an action, right, you have to ask yourself what that incentive is. Now, let me take this one step further. Okay. I made a mistake in this scenario, and I want to share what that mistake is with you. And I want you to avoid making that mistake, because it's not just enough to understand incentives. What you also need to understand is to make sure you structure incentives so that you're actually optimizing for the optimal behavior you want someone to take. Now, let's circle back to the example I gave with my salespeople, booking appointments, my appointment setters. They were booking appointments, right? And I rolled them up, I gave them an incentive, and they ended up booking and hitting their targets of 25 appointments. I can't remember what it was, something like that, right? And you know what happened? I gave them the bonus and they were happy. But then the following week, our cancellations for those appointments were through the roof. And we also had a lot of appointments get disputed. And then I started reviewing these calls that my sales team was having with these customers that we were booking in, and the calls were like 5 minutes long. And the average call time that we usually have is 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes to actually 20 minutes plus to build a relationship, build rapport, qualify them properly. We've got an entire process that we follow that sets the appointment up so that our clients actually close the deal, and it just wasn't being followed. So I got upset. I got annoyed. I had a meeting with my sales team. I'm like, guys, what's going on? Okay, you guys have hit your appointments for last week and you got the bonus, but cancellations are through the roof. Our clients are complaining, and like, you haven't followed protocol with our phone calls. And then one of them spoke up and said, look, Leo, I get it. I understand, but you told us you wanted to hit this crazy target. Like, how am I supposed to sit there and have 20, 30-minute conversations when I've got so many appointments I'm supposed to be booking? And I was like, fair enough. I was wrong here. I was wrong. I had the right idea, which was to incentivize them, but the wrong approach. I was incentivizing them by the wrong thing. So you also have to ask yourself, what is the optimum behavior you want someone to take? Now, in this situation, the optimal behavior I want someone to take is to have a phone call conversation with a customer so that my client shows up and closes the deal. Well, there's two things. The appointment actually goes ahead, and it's a warmed up customer, so my client closes the deal. So our clients close the deal. So I've restructured our incentive with our sales team to not be about appointments booked, but appointments attended, and you get bonuses if our clients close deals. That's how I've restructured the incentive. And then what happened after that? Well, immediately, call quality shot through the roof. My team's following up canceled appointments, rescheduling more because now they're incentivized to get bonuses on actually attended appointments, right? They're spending more time with customers to make sure that they reduce their disputes, because if an appointment gets disputed, they don't get paid for it. And they're doing everything they can to constantly follow up builders, more than I've ever asked them to do before, or my clients, because they want to find out what happened with the deal. Is there anything I can do to help you get that over the line, right? All of this behavior that they're carrying out, I don't have to tell them to do it. They're doing it naturally because I'm incentivizing them by the right thing. Now, the other example I can give you is referrals. So when I was working with my clients, I was getting them amazing results, amazing results. Through our service and what we've built, our clients kill it, absolutely destroy it. I had a builder that we worked with the other day closed a $780,000 deal, broke our record inside the business for the biggest deal ever closed. And he called me and he was over the moon. We have so many testimonials, builders making we had an average $100,000 a month in revenue to any builder who works with us. That's $1 million a year in revenue. And so, everything was going great. And I asked myself, hey, like, why am I not really getting as many referrals as I would like? And so I decided to ask that question from the perspective of incentives. Well, what's the incentive that the builders have to refer to me? What's the incentives that I've put that my clients have to actually refer to me? And the answer was none. It was none, like literally nothing, no incentive. In fact, I realized they were negatively incentivized. So I asked them, hey, I know we've done so amazing with you. One of our builders, we made $1.7 million in revenue in deals closed in 6 months. And I said, hey, just out of curiosity, is there a reason why you haven't like referred me to any of your friends? And he said, oh mate, like I don't want to, I don't I don't want that. I don't want you to, because obviously, if you're a builder, you're doing renovations in a particular city. He was essentially saying like, I don't want to create competition for myself. And I realized he was negatively incentivized. Now, interesting thing is the way we've set things up. We've set it up so there is no competition between the builders, but I hadn't really educated him on that, right? So I realized I needed to educate him on it. It's not going to be a problem. And he's like, oh, okay, I would consider referring, right? So now I've realized not only was I not getting referrals because I was getting amazing results, but my particular niche had a negative incentive, right? It's different. If you run in the gym niche, for example, gyms, if someone knows a gym owner on the other side of the city, he'll happily refer because they know there's no competition. But if you're a builder and you're in the renovation space, most builders will service the majority of the city all over the area. And so it's hard for them to want to actually refer, right? Um, so not to get into the specifics, but I realized they were negatively incentivized and I wasn't actually giving them a positive incentive. So what I did to change this was in the onboarding process, I'd educate our clients and say, look, just so you know, you are never going to be competing with any of the other clients that we have because we've got a 100% exclusivity per appointment that we book. It's something specific in our business that our builders really love. And I said to them, and then I thought to myself, well, how do I incentivize them? And I just offered them money. I mean, I spend thousands of dollars online to try and acquire a customer. Why not just give my builders that money? So I've set things up now where, first of all, I remove the negative incentive from their mind. But secondly, I said, hey, if you refer someone to me, I'm happy to give you 2 grand, 2,000 cash, or take it off our retainer. But I'm happy to give you $2,000 cash because I'd happily spend 2,000 to get a new client from Facebook ads. So just by creating a financial incentive and removing the negative incentive, I'm already starting to hear rumblings from my clients saying, hey, I'm working on someone, I'm going to refer to you. It's like almost like they're working for me now because they really want to get my service for free and they really want that money. And they no longer see the negative incentive. I didn't have to yell at them to do it, ask them to do it. I just had to incentivize them in the right way. if you can structure, if you firstly understand that human behavior is driven by incentive, if we were to summarize here, human behavior is driven by incentives. It's inbuilt into their mind. It's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing. You cannot change. It's there with every person, every relationship. But with every action someone takes, there's always an incentive that is driving that behavior. And if you can figure out what incentive to provide them, right? And you can you make sure that the incentive that you're giving them is aligned with the end optimal action that you want to be taken at the end of it, then you will create a system that's self-sufficient. Because now with my sales team, I don't have to make sure that they show up. I don't have to make sure they go above and beyond. It's up to you. You know, you're incentivized by the more appointments you book that actually attend, and the more builders that close deals, the more money you make. So now I'm chilling, right? I mean, obviously, I help them and we do a lot of sales training and everything else, but for the most part, at their automatic response is going to be to want to get better, to want to do more training, to hustle the pipeline more, to book more appointments because the incentives are there for them. I've tapped in to that on a subconscious level. Now, if you do this and you start to really think about your business in this way, it will change the game for you. And so go do some more study about it, learn about it, grab a notebook and a pen, bring up a Word document and start doing your brainstorms and go and become a superhuman, super entrepreneur who can influence people to behave in the way that he or she wants. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'll see you in the next one.